Hi, Erica. Thank you so much for being here. I'm just loving this book launch that I'm watching you put on. You're putting on a masterclass, and I wanted to do just that. Tell people how you're doing what you're doing. Do you want to tell us first, who are you? What is your book about?
Yes. So my name is Dr. Erica Jordan Thomas. I am a former teacher, former principal, now CEO and founder of Seven Figure Educators. So my background is in education. I started my career as a teacher making $33,000 for an entire year, just to be clear, and now run a multiple seven-figure business. And so Seven Figure Educator is my wealth blueprint of essentially how I did it, because I believe that if anybody deserves to be a millionaire, it's an educator. And I believe the
Mm.
fastest pathway to wealth is through entrepreneurship. So the book is the business blueprint for educators to build, grow, and scale their business.
Wow, that is great. How long have you been working on this book?
It's a great question. So formally, how long I've been working on the book, it's been about 2 years, though I knew 5 years ago that I wanted to write a book at some point. And we can get into this if this makes sense, but because someone actually asked me yesterday of like, well, was the process of like figuring out what you were going to write,
Hmm.
was that hard? It was like, actually, I had an ish load of content. And so
Yeah.
I actually think that's the best position to be in when you're starting the book process is you're starting as a creator who already has a plethora of content and now you're figuring out how to package it in a book. So about 2 years formally from like, all right, let's do this to book being published.
Love that. And is it I agree with you. I have four books to show for it because that's
Yes,
that's it.
yes.
It's being prolific elsewhere,
Mhm.
which means you don't have to reinvent the wheel and you can
Correct.
actually put this out in a different format. Then so are you published independently? Are you published on a major publisher? Something in
Great.
between?
And great question. So I am traditionally published. So my publisher is Hay House, which is a imprint. They were acquired by Penguin Random House about 2 years ago. And so I went the traditional publishing route. And, everyone makes their own
Yep.
decisions based off of, what they're looking for. And I'll say for me, the reason why I went the traditional publishing route is transparently, I wanted an advance. And so
Hmm.
for me, I knew that, writing a book and publishing a book would be a commitment and it required me to step away from my business in some way, shape, or form. And I wanted to be compensated for that. And so because of that, I went the traditional publishing route and was able to get a six-figure advance.
And for people who don't know what an advance is, how do you
Yeah.
explain that? Because I've had four books out. Two of them were with advances at a major publisher, including Random House, and
Hmm.
two were independent. And I
Yeah.
have opinions about all four, right? So what is an advance?
Yes, great question. So I think it's important to like focus on the fact that it's called an advance. It's not called a deposit. It's not called a paycheck. Like
Yup.
it's called an advance, right? Which means that essentially what the publisher is doing is they are giving you money in advance of your book sales to for you to be able to invest in yourself as the author in the book, and then your royalties, you're earning back your royalties against your advance. So my advance was a six-figure advance, which means that I'm not going to earn any royalties until I pay back the advance through book sales. So
Through
that's
book
really, really
sales.
important.
Yeah, so
Yes, yes.
you're not going out just to make sure everybody
Be it
understands.
super
You're not
clear. Yes,
yeah, they're not coming to your door saying, "Where's that, payment?"
correct.
But all those thousands of book sales have to add up so that you can start making even more money after that. So let's talk about that because
Yeah.
this is why I just leaped into your DMs because we've worked together for a couple of years
Yes.
now. But I leaped into your DMs because what milestone did you reach?
Oh, so I was very blessed because of our community and the movement that's happening behind the book that we are a USA Today bestseller. And I just found out this morning for the second week in a row. So,
Wow,
yes.
second week. And then how many book sales is that?
Yes. So for our first week, and I think this is a great conversation. So one of the things that was a little mind-blowing to me was your first week of sales includes your first week of sales, but it also includes all your pre-orders. And
Mhm.
so I was like, oh, this whole bestseller goal is actually really feasible because whenever the retail link is available is when pre-sales can start coming in and those count towards your week one sales. So for us, for week one, we sold 8,334 books. That's the best estimate that we have because, there's Amazon orders and things. Our publisher reported some of those to us, but
Yeah.
Amazon is 48 hours delayed in their reporting, but that is the number that we know of for our first week.
Yeah, so we can say 8,000 plus.
Correct.
And what and this is something I had our friend Terry Igioma on my
Yeah.
Your First Million chair, and we
Mhm.
talked about this too. And most of the audience did not know that all of these days leading up to it, once your book at a traditional publisher goes live pre-sale,
Yes.
the tick starts, you know, the counter
Correct.
starts, which is
Correct.
so interesting. And I've seen people do it in very different ways. Some people do it all on the up and up, which I know
Right.
you did. Some people go out and well, I won't even get into that, but our president did it another way. I'll say that.
Hmm. Hmm.
In different ways, right? So when did your clock start where the pre-sales counted?
Yes. So my clock started as soon as the retail links were available. And this is, first off, Arlen, I'm so grateful that we're having this conversation and you're creating the platform for this conversation because I feel like publishing is so mysterious. And when I started this journey, I was like, I am a go-getter. Like, I don't have a problem creating a strategy, but like, what is
What is
this?
it? Yeah, it's a
Like,
black
how
box.
it's this mysterious black box for no reason. And so I didn't even know like when the clock started ticking, and I really had to find this out. And it's really when your links, your retail links are available. And because I'm traditionally published, my publisher is the one who is setting up the retail links. So they own that. So I was able to proactively have the conversation of like, when should I expect the retail links? When are they going to be available?
Mhm.
And for me, that was December of 2025, and my book published June 16th, 2026. So I had about a 6 month
Yeah,
runway.
that is very, very common, that 6 month runway on the traditional
Mhm.
path. And
Mhm.
then it gets a little it gets a little tight because you're like, okay, I have 6 months to do this. But there's a certain non-urgency for other people, for buyers.
Correct.
When you have a
Correct.
book coming out months ahead, they're like, why should I buy this? So did you incorporate bonuses or how did you make this 8K happen?
Yes, so it was for sure a strategy. And
Yeah.
so there's a few different ways to sell books. And I think this is where people like me, you, other people that you support in the marketplace who are creators, we're actually really positioned well to do this because we're already packaging services in the marketplace. And so a lot of the ways that you think about selling books, well, one of the ways you could sell a book is a webinar, right? Which we do,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
And so there's webinars, there's single orders, there's bulk orders, there's something called a BILF, which stands for book in lieu of fee. So rather than you paying my speaking fee, you buy books. There's events. So there's about 8 different ways you can sell books. And when I learned the 8 ways, I was like, oh, I'm doing 7 out of these 8
Yeah.
already, like as a
Yeah.
business owner. So I'm happy to go into like all the different strategies that I use because it was a variety of different strategies, a little bit of a mix. But I'll start with one and then we can go in whatever way makes the most sense. And so the first thing that I did was thinking through, okay, I actually mapped out, given my goal. And actually, when I started, my goal was 15,000 books. And
Mhm.
so I first looked at the calendar, my marketing calendar for the year, and I was committed. I don't want to stop my business for the sake of a book. So, how can I embed my book into what I'm already doing? And so, between December and my pub date of June 16th, what are the things that are already happening in my business that I can include a pre order copy of the book into? And I either increase the price by $20 or I have to reduce my profit margin by
Mhm.
$20.
Mhm.
So, for example, I host events. So, I'm including a pre order copy of the book in an event ticket.
Yeah.
I have programs. So, I'm including a cost of the book in the programs. And so, those where that was the first, like, kind of big step is literally mapping out what's already naturally happening in my business that I can include a book. And then I had to add on other things.
Yeah, I know Gary V has multiple books. I think he signed a 10 book deal once
Oh,
that he got
wow.
out of. Yeah. When he first started, he signed a 10 book for $1 million deal. At the time, it
Oh,
was
wow.
incredible. And then a few books into it, he got himself out of it because it was too much. But
Yeah.
he always says, I'm at my cheapest when I have a book coming out. Basically,
Right. Right.
meaning you can book me to speak. I'm normally going to charge XYZ, but you buy my books And it's a good deal for the audience. And then that full audience, 100 people, two, 300 people or more have your book. And that's just
Yeah.
wonderful for word of mouth.
Yes. And I'll tell you the strategy that was most successful for us. And then I'll tell you the strategy that I ended up having to pivot because
Yeah.
it wasn't as high impact as I thought it was going to be. So I'll first start with the strategy that I thought would be high impact. And I was like, no, we're going to have to pivot this. So I ran a webinar play. And
Yeah.
so one webinar play that I ran was uh, we have a course called the E-Scale course where I name in the conclusion of my book the 10 stages of business from pre-revenue to 5 million. And then I have a mini course that basically has a roadmap for each of those stages. So I was running this webinar play. I was doing it like every other week. The call to action would be the course, but in order to get the course, you just have to pre-order a copy of the book. And so
Mm.
go order a copy of the book. We have a book website, which is a whole nother conversation of the back end infrastructure of the website, the branding, all of that. But upload your receipt. That's our confirmation you bought the book. We would give you access to the course. And I was doing that every other week, and it just wasn't like it was getting me maybe 30, 50 orders per webinar that I was like,
Which
this,
itself is pretty amazing.
yeah,
But when you're
yeah.
thinking about that slog,
Volume play.
hmm,
Like, I'm looking for like tens of,
yeah,
thousands of books. I'm like,
yeah.
this just isn't the best high return. So I ended up pivoting away from that. And I'll tell you what actually ended up being, I think, one of our most successful strategies was a bulk order play with a twist. So, obviously there's two paths to selling books, single orders and bulk orders, right? So you could sell 8,000 books with 8,000 people, or you could sell 8,000 books with 1,000 books with 8 people,
Yeah.
right? So like if you're thinking the bulk order path, like that's really, 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 helpful from a volume play. But then from a bestseller, strategy, it's well, we want as many people as possible to be getting access to the book, and we want geography spread. Like we just don't want 8 shipments of 1,000 books going across the country. Like we want as many people as possible to get the
Yeah.
book. So what we ended up doing is we ran a bulk order campaign, and there were bonuses associated to certain tiers. So 10 books, 25 books, 50 books, so on and so on. And then we allowed people to donate their books,
Hmm.
saying you could buy 50 books and you could donate 50 copies of the books to educators who would find value in the book and your investment in educators. So then simultaneously, we had to run a redemption campaign of educators to fill out a redemption form to redeem a copy of the book, and then matching books with redemption forms. So that was
Yeah.
actually one of our most successful campaigns.
Did they have anything else that came with it, or was it strictly this can be a donation that you, or did they have a bonus to that?
Oh, yeah. So I love this question. So and this is the educator in me. We as adults are big kids. Okay. We love stickers. We love prizes. We love incentives. Okay. We love
Yep.
a little positive
Status. It's called
reinforcement.
status.
Okay.
Yes. And it's a
We,
major, major thing,
it's
a
a
psychological.
huge, huge buyer motivation. And so I think to the point that you were making earlier when it comes to pre-orders, like how do you incentivize someone to buy something 6 months before it's going to ship, right? And
Hmm.
the answer to your point is bonuses. So we had to think of bonuses for everything. So even if you did a single order of the book through the webinar 6 months in advance, we had bonuses of where you would get copy of the e-scale course. You would get I did a video breaking down my strategy to sell 8,000 books. So that way people saw
Hmm.
my book sales strategy. So that was single order bonuses. And then with our bulk order bonuses, we have a digital workbook. So they would get a license to the digital workbook. And then depending on the tiers, they would get like tickets to my event. They
Mm.
would get access to like a private author meet and greet at my event. We're going on a book tour, so book tour tickets. So we included bonuses in just about
Galore.
everything. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, for
Yeah,
sure.
with my latest book that just came out in April, I had a lot of fun with it, and I still am, and I plan on spending the next year and a half more with it. And I was thinking through the bulk because I just watched, I think we all watched Alex Hormozy
Right, right.
with his book launch, specifically the last one. And I was thinking through the bulk in my case would work really, really well. It works with
Right.
speaking already. I think that's a
Yeah.
given. But the just the buy it so that other people can have it.
Yes.
And I haven't yet in the last couple of months quite turned the corner on that and given it enough thought and space. But I think there's so many amazing things I can do with that because
For
people,
sure.
like you said, they want status. They also want to help.
Yeah.
And like for instance, for your first million live, we did it a different way this year virtually. And there were some people in the audience and some people who couldn't make it. And I
Mm.
had so many people say, please gift my ticket to someone who can't
Yeah.
afford it instead of
Yeah.
I need a refund.
Right.
It's just kind of innate in us to do that.
For
So,
sure.
so what would you say the bulk of it came from? Do you think more than half of it came from bulk, or do you think it was a different percentage?
So we had about 50-50
Yeah.
of bulk orders to single orders, but then the bulk orders turned into single orders, right? Because they were matched with the redemption forms of people who
Hmm.
were claiming order copies of the book. So of the people who ordered bulk orders, probably maybe about 70% of them donated their books. And
Yeah.
so, overall, it was mostly single orders. And so I think part of the like hidden curriculum to this as well is we had to get a fulfillment partner, right?
Hmm.
Because of all these like, single orders and people doing bulk orders, we ain't about to be in nobody's basement like shipping
Yeah.
out 100 books. Like
Yeah.
we just don't have the human capital capacity for that, and that just wasn't a priority for me. So we had to get a fulfillment partner to be able to manage that. And I'll tell you the other thing psychologically too that I think was really important. Um, and again, this is where like business owners, entrepreneurs like me, you, and your audience, where we understand this, like the average author may not necessarily be an entrepreneur, so they actually may not have like the marketing chops to really be able to understand how to launch.
Hmm.
And so a part of what, I had to get in the mind frame of it as a business owner, I know this, like this is a big campaign. Like this is
Hmm.
a marketing campaign. This is not a social media graphic or a flyer of just go order the book. Like this is a marketing campaign, and this is a campaign that's going to last for at least a year, if not 2 years. So if I want someone to take an action, there has to be a reason for them to take the action. That reason either needs to be a bonus, it either needs to be an emotional connection, or it needs to be an event. So for most of
Mm.
our bulk orders came as a result of a launch event. So I hosted a summit where I called all my friends and I was like, yo, I need your help. I want you to come and speak. I'm going to host a 10-hour, like QVC style type of shopathon
Yep.
situation. And the whole goal is to sell bulk orders of books. Can you come and support me? So I had a 10-hour summit, the Seven Figure Educator Revenue and Wealth Summit. We had 10 speakers. And throughout the day, they're teaching the call to action is to buy bulk orders of books. And that day, we sold 1,800 books. We had
Ooh.
89 people do
Ooh.
bulk orders of books. So again, like to the point of like, rather than just posting it on social media, buy a bulk order. It's like, no, we had to have an event, galvanize people, have a
Hmm.
call to action, give incentive and bonuses. And that's what helps move the needle.
100%. I love that. I did your first million live for that.
Yeah.
I launched, well, you can't see it, but I launched my authority playbook there and it was over several days, but about 8 hours total
Yeah.
on video, on live, and
Mm,
it brought in everything had to do with the authority. Anybody we interviewed, it was they had an authority in their lane and we had the book everywhere. And I love that. I love that kind of vibe. People can do this like we did it at a studio. You can do this from home. Like you can be at home on Zoom 10 hours, 8 hours. You can go live on YouTube even if you don't
Arlan,
want
I
to
was in my
do.
kitchen.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
in my
I mean,
kitchen.
I'm in the phase. I don't know if it's my age or just my experience so far. I'm in this phase of no excuses from
Yeah.
anybody. Like I can't take any more excuses from people because
Yeah.
this like what you just described is I think a lot of people count themselves out from that. They say, "Oh,
Right.
well, you are the expert. You are this," but you said at the beginning of this, you didn't have the playbook. You didn't know.
No,
You had no
no.
idea what to do. You just saw, "Oh, this is what we're supposed like this is the goal and this is the amount of time. What can I do creatively to keep
Yeah.
going?" So when you think
Yeah.
about The 8,000. What now? Because are you still doing more things, or it was like that first run was the big play? Do you have to get back to other things?
Yeah, no. So, one of the things that I was really adamant about was I didn't want to like be one of those books where you just hear about like the week that it publishes and then it just fizzles out and goes away. Like we're in it for the long game, right? Where, the book is still here, like it's still
Yeah.
a thing. And so we actually did a book tour, which is a whole nother strategy within itself, right? So
Hmm.
we did a book tour. We have released 8 cities. And so we've already done 8 cities. And I actually plan to do a part two of the book tour in 2027, just to be able to keep the train of the book going.
Yep.
I'm speaking at Essence Fest, which is coming up this week to continue to promote the book. And so, really thinking about how do we continue to keep the book front and center, where now we have a official workbook. And so, I was actually just scrolling on social and got another idea of like now that the book is out in the world, we need to be creating assets related to like study guides for people to host
Hmm.
book clubs
Hmm.
and that's what's really really important to me, and I think any marketing campaign like actually like this is just beginning with the
Well,
book.
the fun part is that the people who actually read the book,
Yes, yes,
who do the thing, and they start to have success stories and testimonials for years, you'll be able to
yes,
pull from those. You think about Rachel Rogers, We Should All Be Millionaires. I'm
yeah,
talking years of testimonials pulling in. Oh, I did the $10,000 challenge. Today, 3 years later, that's going to be
yeah,
so fun. Can we go back to though
yeah,
the tour?
yes.
So, what time period were these, like, over what time period were these 8 dates, and how do you figure out a tour for those who don't know?
Yes. So I should probably preference that I'm a Virgo. So I am a planner. And what
Yeah.
that means is when I create my strategic plan for the year, I actually do a 5 year, 3 year, 1 year vision before I do all the planning. And so 5 years ago, I said I wanted to write a book. I was like, I don't know what it's going to be about yet, but I want to write a book. And because I know when I do a book, I'm going to have to do a book tour, let me start going on tour now. So I actually started touring 4 years ago, and I started
Mm,
with just 4 cities. I didn't have a book at the time, but it was me going to 4 cities where I would find some type of co-working space on a Saturday for 4 hours, and I would just teach a workshop and sell like $50 tickets. But that was for the purpose of I want to test the infrastructure of me traveling and going to people versus
yeah.
people coming to me. So this year was our 4th year of doing the tour. So by this point, we have tested the market, we got space, we know, the email communication, the launch strategy for a tour. And so I think the biggest questions are always like, what cities do you go to? And for me, I look at my social media analytics and my email list geography data to be able to see where do I already have a concentration of people. And because this was the 4th year of doing it, and this is, again, a little bit of my Virgo brain where because I already travel a lot, if I was going to a conference when I was already traveling somewhere, I would do a pop-up
Mm,
as a way to kind of experiment. Is
that's
this
right.
a city where we have traction that I should add to the tour next year? So that was kind of helping to start to build some of the momentum in some of the cities to now when we're doing 8 cities. I have clarity around where to go because we already have a footprint and it's somewhere where I've been before. So we released them in chapters. So we did we did 4 cities at a time, 3 chapters each, and we'll do chapter 4 in 2027. But that allowed us to be able to create some of the healthy urgency, some of the teasing, the like, campaign around where are we going next.
Yeah.
And we started the first tour stop was in May. And actually, we're going through August. So the tour is actually May to August. The pub date is in June, was in June.
Yeah. Where can people still see you?
So we are going to be in the DMV on July 11th. We'll be in Atlanta July 25th, and then we'll be in Charlotte, North Carolina on August 8th. So those are our last chapter of the tour until 2027.
Yeah. I mean, it's my favorite thing to do, if I'm honest, is to
Yeah.
go on these dates. And I've been doing it for years. And I think what most people don't realize about the tour is that it's not making you money. You're usually spending more money than you're making on the tour, but it's
Right.
more about that long term. And you can figure out some plays, like some higher ticket things, some things that you can add to it. But how you found that? Like I used to work with a lot of, or still do, with a lot of musicians on tour, and they're
Yeah.
finding it really hard to be out on tour. How are you finding the touring as far as the expense of it, but versus the payoff?
Yes. So great question. So, um, first off, as a numbers girly, it's the cost of the venue deeply matters,
Mm,
because we're intentionally keeping the ticket price low. Like our goal is always, how can we break even before we even get there? Meaning the ticket cost
yeah.
cover the expenses of the tour. And what makes it tricky is travel when I have to bring team because airfare and hotel and all that stuff.
Mm,
So we try and keep our venue under $1,500. And part of what's been helpful with that is using higher education spaces, so universities versus like going to the hotels, because baby, they will jack you up with the
yeah.
price.
Yes.
But if you go to a higher ed, like a student union, something that's still nice, that's been really, really helpful. But as an entrepreneur that does have an offer that is connected to the book, we extend the invitation for people to continue to work with us after the tour, which allows for us to be able to still generate revenue while on the tour. And so
Yeah.
my personal, role as an entrepreneur and as a business coach is anytime you stand in front of people, you should be extending the invitation for people to work with you and continue to work with you versus I just came and taught for 5 hours and then I'll see y'all later.
Yeah.
So that is also making money on the front end while also making revenue on the back end as
That's right.
well.
That's what I meant by there's always a way to take that, especially if you're in person and you have any skill whatsoever with the connection you can make there. That can be the highest ROI, return on
Right.
investment. That it doesn't seem like that in the moment, but over time you'll see that your most dedicated customers probably came from seeing you speak, seeing you in
What
person.
And what's fascinating about that is so we host a annual 3-day live event, Seven Figure Educator Live, and that's another opportunity for folks to be able to, formally enroll in our programs, in addition to just like the event itself, which is high value community and coaching. And when we look at the people who end up working with us and enrolling in our programs, 40% of them attended a tour.
Yeah.
And so to
Wow.
your point of just like that touch point of like how meaningful it is. And I mean, this is something that I think we're starting to see in the marketplace is people, of course, Zoom can lead to transformation, but like when people get with you in a room, like it is
Mm,
really hard to repackage that in any other way that just makes it really, really sticky for a client journey.
yeah. I think some people hearing this might say, "Well, you seem like you could run the book publishing company." That's how I felt working with publishers. I want people to have a good understanding of it. I think of publishers, and you can say what you'd like, but I think of
Yeah.
major publishers as this distribution machine.
Yeah.
Like they're able to get you into places when it comes to where things are sold.
Yeah.
But I don't lean on my publishers for marketing and for
Correct.
creativity in that way. And
Correct.
I think I think if you go into it knowing that, which most people don't, I think you'll have your expectations met better. And then you can use that. It's almost like a record deal or something. It's like why you got to think about why you want that. And there are some things that it just these major businesses like the Barnes and Nobles of the world will not have a conversation with you if you're not connected with this
Correct.
particular group. So use it that way. What do you
Yes.
think? What do you think?
So, what's so fascinating? Let me tell you the word that just popped in my head literally as you were talking. And this is the first time I had this thought. I was like, my publisher is my sugar daddy. Like, that's it. Like, all they did, like, they just cut me the check and they got my book in the store. Like, it's my publisher is a sugar daddy. That's it. That's it. Okay.
Go
Because
out and buy yourself something nice.
yeah, just give you a little advance and get your book in the store. Don't expect nothing else. Don't expect, you're not me, mama. You're not coming over for the holidays. Don't
Right.
expect wine and like
Yeah.
that is but and there's high value in that. And to your point, you need to understand that. And I think this is a really important conversation of what I've been trying to, really underscore with my community. I think the work that you're doing around teaching folks around YouTube and AI is so important is because at the end of the day, a publisher is a business, right? And we were just talking about this from an advanced standpoint. If they are giving you an advance, and we're talking traditional publishing now, right? But if they're giving you an advance, they're essentially betting on you that they're going to make their money back,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So, what is the best indication that if you want a six-figure advance, that you will be able to drive sales worth of six figures of royalties, right?
Mhm.
Well, the best indication of that is the size of your audience. And that's not obviously like the most clear-cut way to be able to make some predictions, but there really is no like clear-cut way on your
Mhm.
ability to sell other than how many people find so much value in what you do that they choose to follow you on a social platform and or join your email list. Like that is their biggest indication for your ability to be able to sell books. And so that's why it's so important for people to be on YouTube, exactly what you're teaching your community, for folks to be leveraging AI from a content standpoint, a creation standpoint, to be able to show up in the marketplace. Because prior to me even though I knew what I wanted my book to be about, I had to spend 2 years building my platform for a bigger publisher to give me the advance that I was interested in to even look at me, because I had to prove that I had the numbers to even earn back an advance.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big proponent of doing the indie route, but it's admittedly after I got the benefit of the traditional route
Right,
twice.
right,
So
right,
I'm not
right,
going to
right.
be fake and act like, "Hey, I
Yeah.
would have known that out the gate." I prefer the indie route, but I look at it all the time when I look at major musicians who, because I came from the music world, and so that's why
Yes,
I think about
yes.
it like that. When I think of major musicians who do have a falling out with their label, most likely like for good reason.
Hmm.
Usually the label
Hmm.
is not great. But I also think about like you would not be Lady Gaga if it were not for the label. You would not be
Right, right,
Usher if it weren't for
right,
the label. So
right,
it's like it is a kind of a privileged position to say, yeah, do it indie.
right,
So some
right,
people are going to want to do it indie from the jump, and some
right.
people are going to want to do more traditional. There are pros and cons to both, and the more you can research and understand before you get going, and before you walk into the situation, the better for you. And
Yeah,
sometimes you just got to learn some stuff on your own
yeah,
just
for
by
sure,
trying it.
for
And
sure.
I agree with you that, I mean, it's just the case now. Like when you go into these book publishers, they're looking you up before you even walk in their door. Like you have to get an agent to begin. You got to do all these things. They need to see what's happening on your YouTube, on your Instagram, maybe TikTok, depending on what your thing is.
Yeah,
And what I I don't love everything about that, but what I do like about it is that it is a level playing field.
yeah.
So there are so many people who are sitting at home right now who have the same access to the Gary V's of the world, to the Rachel Rogers of the world. You have the same access to these platforms. And then you think, like Erica, how can I make this work for me?
Hmm.
What
Hmm.
creatively can I do? And not only all of that, I think you also demonstrate someone who does more than the work. You're talking about a 10-hour live session. Most people won't do it.
Right.
Most people won't do it. They'll say, "Oh no, that's ridiculous. I'll do an hour." Well, guess what? You just got 10 times the results and more than that because it does compound.
Correct.
Yeah, so
Correct.
I mean, if people are listening this far in, you're serious about launching a book probably. I want to go back just for a moment, and thank you for your time here. I want to go back to the beginning of when someone has made it to this point, they're like, I do want to give this a try. This sounds exciting, thrilling, scary, all the good things. How do they figure out what to write about?
Mm, mm. So I'm going to name my bias and how I answer this question.
Okay.
So I answer this question as an entrepreneur who very much so believes in doing things for joy. And I personally believe for myself that if I have a business, I'm not going to write a book that has nothing to do with my business.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are an entrepreneur and you are choosing to write a book, that book needs to be positioned to generate traffic to your business. So when
Mm-hmm.
you're thinking about what to write about, so I'm naming my bias because that means don't write no memoir. That's my opinion is you should not, and I'm not saying memoirs aren't great, but I'm saying that as a business owner, in
Mm-hmm.
order to make the most strategic decision, if you choose to write a book, is that that book should be driving traffic to your business, and therefore given your business and what you do in your business and what you know about your target audience and avatar, what is the first entry point, almost like the appetizer and like the appetizer and like first course, that is going
Mm-hmm.
to give someone the appetite to have even more curiosity to say, how can I continue to work with this person? I want to learn more. I want to do more. Now, here's the thing, because I think I think for a while in the marketplace, there was like this message of like kind of gatekeeping, don't give everything away, like put things behind paywalls, like
Yeah.
whatever. And actually with a book, and Mike McAllowitz, who's the author of Profit First and a couple of
Mm-hmm.
other books, Clockwise, all that. I
Clockwork. Yeah.
remember,
I love
yes.
him. Love
And
him.
so I remember asking him, I was like, you sold a load of books. Like, what's your advice to an author? And he said, do not be stingy, do not be selfish, put it all in your book. Like, do
Mm-hmm.
not hold
Mm-hmm.
back, put it all in your book because one or two things is going to happen. You are it's someone who may not, buy from you or be your customer, is going to find the book, and yeah, they may not buy from you, but they're going to have such a mind-blowing experience with that book that they're going to tell other people.
Yeah.
And then the other person who finds your book is going to have a mind-blowing experience and want to work from you for you or want to
Yeah.
work with you. And so that's kind of my thought process or answer to that question is like thinking through, okay, what is the first transformation that someone needs to have in order to set them up for the next step to work with you, and then put all of it, do not gatekeep, put that all in the book for them to be able to have access.
I love this. I love it. Let me tell you, and everyone else watching, a really great example. Now, I did this with my fourth book.
Mhm.
I lent, okay, my second book, Your First Million. First book was more of a memoir. Second book was Your First Million concept leading into Your First Million, the annual event. Like it was an
Mm.
invitation that would
Mhm, mhm,
stand the test of time.
mhm.
Uh, Fourth book, Arlan's Authority Playbook. Because of where I am now and what I teach and what I've learned, everything in this book points to come meet me in my memberships. Come
Yes.
over here.
Yes.
Come over here.
Yes. Yes.
Thousands and thousands of people pouring in. A great example, too, to your exact point, is I think of someone very similar to the Clockwork book by Mike, is Dan Martell's Buy Back Your
Yeah.
Time.
Yeah.
He gives you everything in the book, everything you need. You'll never need anything else. That $30 book is it. But don't you know he sells courses? He sells $5,000 and $10,000 coaching like it's water, like pours like
Hmm.
water. And everything that you learn in those places is just the book told in a different way
Correct.
by a different
Correct.
person. Not even by him.
Correct.
Not even by him.
Correct. And the educator in me, like, because I think part of what is trippy for people to be able to understand, like, just give it away and like put in the book, is people, and it's a little bit of scarcity thinking. It's like, oh, well, then people, why would they want to buy my course or my program or whatever? But the educator in me knows and understands that it's like, and don't quote me, this isn't research. This is like just me spitballing, but like the percentage of people that can read and then execute from mastery is so small.
Yeah.
It's so small. Like I would, if I had to bet, I would say like less than 1 or 2% of people that could literally read it and do it with mastery. That like the purpose of the book is for them to see that you are a genius and expert. and to be even more
Mm,
curious and to want to figure out what else exists in your ecosystem, and then for them to go and start Googling and joining your membership and following you on socials and joining your challenges. So like
yeah.
I think that's what's really helpful for people to be able to release this thought of like, oh no, I got to keep everything behind a paywall and they got to pay for it. I shouldn't put it in the book. It's like just give it away, and it's actually going to help you get to that result even faster of attracting more of your ideal audience.
Yeah. To close things out, which I shouldn't say, but I'm going to say it anyway. To close things out, why do you spend so much time with your YouTube channel?
Ooh, why do I spend so much time with my YouTube channel? One is that if you look at all of the metrics and data in terms of what like platforms are actually most highly used across all generations, YouTube consistently ranks at the top, like point blank, period. And then the second, and this is actually a light bulb that I got from you around like your anchor platforms, as someone who my audience has grown tremendously over the past like 3 or 4 years. I have almost 100K on Instagram. I've grown to, about 10K on YouTube, 45K on TikTok, 35K, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever, whatever. And as someone who prioritizes being omnipresent and being all these places, like it's like you can't focus on everything. And
Yeah.
so it's like you have to pick a place and anchor there. And then that anchor is then what you create from. And then that spreads everywhere else. And the light bulb moment I got from you when I had spent a day with you and realizing of like trying to crack this YouTube code, I was like, oh, wait, like YouTube is actually the place that if you can create from, it's most easily transferable to every other platform. Like, because if you start on LinkedIn, which is mostly for written, it's hard to turn that into a video, at least from a like you got to record the video,
Yeah.
right?
It's the
But
whole nother thing. Yeah.
it's a whole nother modality and process versus if you can anchor in YouTube, which is long form, mid form, short form, you can translate that across every other platform. That for me was so powerful and why I anchor down in YouTube.
Love that. It's highly, highly leveraged. And I love that you're this is what I notice about people who are very successful. They're incredibly coachable.
Hmm.
Like you are incredibly coachable. I'm not as much, and I could be, but I do study a lot. I study so much. And I guess I am coachable because I study so much and I try. And with you, we sat down. I think we were having a VIP day, or what were we doing?
Yeah, we
I think
were
it was,
Soho House in LA. So we were
yeah,
having
the VIP day.
yep, yep.
We had our VIP day. And I mean, I noticed that you were already doing YouTube. I noticed that you have this major, major live event. And at the same time, though, I was like, you're primed to take this further, to take the YouTube thing further for that. So I'm so happy to see you doing that. I know you can even go further with it. So I'm excited to see what happens with that. The book itself, what goal do you have now?
Oh, the goal that I have next for the book is my next goal is actually 30,000 books,
Yeah.
to sell a total of 30,000 books. And so really excited about that. And then there are a couple like dream list of like places and platforms where I want the book to be. And that's a whole nother like, conversation sidebar that we could have later of just like, I think, most people are like, oh, I want to be on Good Morning America. Like I want to be, on these places, which I think those places have value. And I think those places are much more valuable after the book has launched. Like I
Mm-hmm,
think I think
mm-hmm.
it's even more value after the book has it's here, it's been in people's hands and the pages have turned and people have the language. Like I think those
Yeah.
places are more powerful after the launch. And so really excited to continue to explore those spaces and spaces like the audience that you've created here on your
Yeah.
podcast as
I
well.
I think with your success, couple of things I just want to make sure I say to you.
Best.
You, I'm gonna call this, and people who see it will see it's called a masterclass on
Mhm.
business, the business
Mhm.
of book business. You could absolutely run an entire live cohort, 4 to 6 week live cohort, $500, whatever you end up doing for this. Because as we
Mhm.
say, people are not going to take this video and just do everything with it. They need a deeper, deeper dive. I'd be happy to work on it with you if you want,
Mhm.
because I want to do one too. Like I've thought about that. The
Mhm.
second thing is just not only partnerships, but this is the perfect time for you, if you haven't already, but I'm sure you have, just to get on like the 10 very strategic podcasts and YouTube channels,
Mhm.
because now you have the viral story.
Mhm.
It's very reminiscent to me of the Yap challenge. Like you have this, 8,000 people are trying to make this happen, and they have not been able to crack that
Mhm.
in especially the way that you're doing it, and you cracked the code. So now you've gone in, cracked the code for yourself. There are going to be thousands and thousands of people who want to know how to do what you're doing.
Mhm.
And so I think you're the right type of content for many people. Like yeah, I have a few people in mind, but you're the right content for them because you have gone above and beyond what is sort of normal right now.
Mhm. Mhm. I receive that. I
Yeah.
receive that.
Yeah.
Arlen, you know when you tell me something, I'm the right one and the wrong one to tell. I'm like, okay, say less. Because
Yeah, I mean,
that's how I'm gonna play.
seriously, I'm tempted. I think maybe let us know in the comments if you made it this far, if you want us to do some sort of live cohort with you, walk you through
Uh,
the different ways to deliver a book, the different ways to the business side of the book side, the monetization side of it. Because I've had a lot of experience. Erica has just, again, cracked this code very special way in a very special way. Let us know if it's something that's interesting. We'll hear from people and we'll go from there. Otherwise, I can't wait to see you on all of these podcasts and just doing your thing.
Yes, I'm excited. Thank you so much for this. And just thank you for the way in which you pour into the world, the way in which you've poured into me, in doing so in a way that is valued aligned, like authentic, like just one that I just really appreciate in this marketplace that's really, really noisy. You cut through the noise in a very, very special, particular way that
Thank
resonates
you.
with my soul and my spirit. So just thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
for that. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, I'll see you soon. Bye.